everybody, this is Derek for the Grumpy Guy Show, talking about episode number 88, His Ego Gets Larger. Recorded on Tuesday, April 4th, 2023. Tonight's topics: a realistic senator, the force is strong with this one, and 34 felonies. Stick around, it's a good episode. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Grumpy Guy Show. I'm Derek McAllister.
And I'm Ryan McAllister.
So it was a bit of a struggle to get some topics in here this week because, life. Just things coming up and happening, and been busy.
Life.
Yeah. Been busy, and it may end up getting worse, but we'll see what happens.
But it may end up getting better.
Yeah, who knows? I'm hoping to actually get out and do some more photography this year, so not so sure that'll get better. we may end up cutting down the number of episodes. Maybe instead of weekly, go to bi-weekly or something. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have to see what happens. It's...
Yep.
Some of it goes right back to, the fact that I can't tell how many people are actually listening. We're not getting any interaction on Facebook. I think I'm gonna try.
Nobody's really saying anything in my Discord server.
Yeah. So I think what I'm gonna do is there's an option for a poll or something like that with Spotify for podcasters. It's no longer Anchor, it's Spotify for podcasters, I don't know. But there's options for a poll or something like that. So maybe I'll throw something like that in there just to see if we can get some kind of interaction so that I know if it's even worth doing anymore. I mean, it's something that does relax me to complain, but
yeah,
I can do that without spending time doing this. Spending time sitting in front of the computer and doing the recording and then do the editing and whatnot. I can just complain, especially since half the time lately when I find something to complain about, I don't have any way to note it. So I'm
complaining about it right there on the spot.
Well, I complain about it on the spot anyhow, but it's, if you don't have a way to write it down, I mean, an hour later I forget.
Yep.
And that's not good, but
it's not.
There's just other things happening that take precedence, so we'll see what comes out of this, whether it's a poll or if we decide, let's put it on YouTube and see if that helps it out at all. I honestly don't know that it will, but certainly isn't going to hurt.
Mm-hmm.
But who knows? We'll see. So, got 3 topics today. As I said, they were a struggle. One of them's going to be really quick, I think, but
I think 2 of them could be combined into one.
Well, maybe. I mean, they're gonna lead into, one of them's gonna lead into the other. So. So, what do you say we get started?
Let's do it.
All right.
What's up first?
So first off, we're going to go back and talk a little bit more about the shooting that happened in Tennessee. So there's, once again, all kinds of gun right talk and, protests and all this other crap. And, you've got people that are saying, take away all guns. And then you got people that are saying, no, we can't do that. And neither of them have extremes. Yeah, neither of them have real justification for their extreme opinions.
The extremists are the worst.
Yeah. And they were the news actually, they showed a clip talking to one of the, I believe he was a U.S. senator from Tennessee. And they were saying, is this going to push you towards supporting gun control? And he said, guns are not the issue. Mental health is the issue.
Finally, a politician who actually makes sense.
Yeah, and I was just like,
Whoever that is, can we make
whoa.
them? Can we put them in charge of everything gun related?
Yeah, but I marked that as good news because it means that somebody actually knows the truth.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the gun is a weapon. That's all it is. If they don't have access to legal guns, what are they going to do? They're going to go get illegal guns. In fact, a
Or
large number
or
of
a
guns.
legal or another weapon legally.
Yeah, but the thing is, a large
That's why
number
a
of
lot of
these.
countries that that's why a lot of countries where guns are illegal, there's a ton of knife crime,
Yeah, and there's
such as the UK, for example.
there's other ways in which you can conduct, you know, massive killings. It doesn't have to be with a gun. I mean, look at the guy who, he pulled up on a sidewalk in Central Park and ran over 8 people and then kept trying to go for more.
Yep.
There were no guns involved with that at all. He went and rented a truck legally and then just took it and drove down the sidewalk.
Look at 9/11.
Yeah. Yeah, there weren't any guns in 9/11. They were box cutters.
I don't know about the Boston Marathon thing, but
That was a bomb.
yeah, it was a bomb, but I'm not sure if guns may have been involved in that or not.
No, don't believe so.
Okay, then that adds to our point.
Yeah, I mean, a gun is a tool. Plain and simple, it's a tool. And if you outlaw guns, it means the only ones who will have guns are going to be criminals.
Criminals and the government.
Yeah, I mean,
And the reason why the Second Amendment exists is so the private citizens can protect themselves from the government.
yeah, yeah. And, sooner or later, what's going to end up happening is, there's going to be some lawsuits against the government over these, and the Supreme Court's going to end up having to rule. And if they rule in any way other than what the Constitution says, the Second Amendment, then there's going to be, that'll likely be the start of the revolution that I keep saying is coming.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the, you really can't get around it. I mean, you take away a right that is given by the founding fathers of our country, and you know you're doing it for the wrong reasons. You're doing it because people need mental help, not
Yep.
because guns are the problem. Guns are just the tool. They're just the means to the end,
Yes.
and that's all there is to it. But I don't know. So I put
And
that as
besides, anything can be used as a weapon.
yeah,
Literally anything. This
yeah.
pencil, this pencil could kill someone if used in a certain way.
Well, all you have to do is talk to somebody who's been in prison or talk to a corrections officer, and they will tell you anything can be made into a weapon.
Yeah, exactly.
How many times have corrections officers been held hostage? Not because somebody's bigger and tougher than them, no, because somebody's got a weapon and holds it against them.
Mm-hmm.
And where did they get that weapon? Well, they got that weapon by making it out of something. Where there's a will, there's a way. You're going to make a weapon. That's all there is to it.
If you want to make a weapon, you're gonna end up making a weapon.
Yeah. You'll figure out some way to do it. And, these people that are incarcerated, they're in a bit different situation because they have to be resourceful if they want to make a weapon. They have to think outside the box. They have to say, okay, what do I have? Versus, hey, I'm just going to go to the store and buy this, or I'm going to go on the black market and buy it. They can't do that, obviously, because they're in prison. So they have to be resourceful. Well, if you start taking away things like guns, people are going to become resourceful.
Mm-hmm.
We're already having a difficult time controlling populations of deer, for instance, because fewer and fewer people are hunting. Well, imagine if you take away guns. Now there's going to be even fewer people hunting because shooting a bow is not necessarily the easiest way to hunt. There are people that are very accurate with a bow, but you look at somebody who's on the Olympic team for archery. They're good in a very fixed setting with a target that does not move. Not necessarily good out in the field hunting. And then what happens when somebody decides, okay, well, I'm going to go and I'm going to get so that I can shoot arrows very quickly, which can happen. Now you're going to take away bows? I mean,
And then they move on to knives.
yeah.
Then they take away knives, and then we're back to swords.
You look back. I can't remember how long ago it was, but the Chinese had a weapon. It was called a wacha or something like that. Basically, they took. I mean, it was this rectangular thing, that had tubes for arrows, and each arrow had, basically a small firework on it. And that's, they'd had like 10, 15 of these things, point them out towards the enemy. As soon as the enemy started coming, they just light them up and they just start shooting. People are going to do something like that. I mean, and then they don't need a bow. All they need are arrows. And oh, by the way, they don't even necessarily need arrows. They got something like that. They're not worried about accuracy. All they got to do is have a pointed stick. What are you going to do? Outlaw trees? Yeah, we don't need the oxygen that trees produce. No, let's outlaw.
No, not at all.
But at any rate, so I put that as good news because we've got at least one senator out there who gets it.
Yep.
Whether he can actually get people to join in and make it so that there's enough of the restrictions on the guns. Let's put restrictions on who can get the gun. And by that I mean put in better background checks, more intense background
checks.
And on top of the background checks, you also have to put in mental health checks. Don't get me wrong. People can fake that stuff. They can get around it and all. However, the more stringent it is, and if there's multiple checks involved, it's going to make it more difficult for somebody to actually have a license to get a weapon, to get a gun. But you take away all the guns, and suddenly you're going to have large machetes or swords becoming popular. Why? You don't need a license for those. Because guess what, folks? Those are knives. They can't go, they can't say, oh, well, you got to have a license to use a knife. How am I going to cut my steak?
How am I supposed to cut my steak? How am I supposed to spread my butter?
Yeah. So we're headed down a slippery slope unless we actually fix the problem, which is mental health. We need to figure out why so many young people are having so many mental issues. Simply put, it needs to happen that way. So, what do you say we hop on to our next topic?
All right. What do we got?
So this one, I couldn't believe it. So they were talking about Trump and the fact that he was gonna come up for the indictment in New York City, and they said he's getting on Trump Force 1. I'm like, he's getting on what? And then they said it again, Trump Force 1. I'm like, oh my God, talk about somebody that's so overly self-centered and believes that he's God's gift to humankind.
Ego. Why are they inflating his ego?
Well, I'm sure it's not them. I mean, this was I think it was ABC, so it's not a channel that is a Trump fan.
Yeah, this is not Fox News.
Yeah, so and they're saying this, so I'm assuming he named this airplane that, and I'm like, you
That's
gotta be
sad.
kidding me. What a freaking serious ego problem.
That is so sad.
Yeah, and I'm just like, oh my god, what the hell? What's this world coming to when we spend all of our time naming things after ourselves just to make it so that we seem more important?
I'm just gonna keep saying it. That is sad.
Yeah, yeah,
That
it's
man's that man's so desperate to make it seem like he's still the president. It's so sad.
yeah, it's really pathetic, and I don't know. I mean,
That's why he's not gonna make it past the primaries because he's his supporters are gonna think he's pathetic.
well,
Except for the ones who will suck him off at every chance they get.
yeah, yeah. I mean, the whole thing is stuff like that really truly I think it's starting to show that he doesn't believe that he's a common person. He doesn't believe
Hmm.
that he's middle class. I mean, he's never actually been middle class,
No, he hasn't.
you know. And sure, he's not nearly as wealthy as he always claimed he was, and that was proven
Yep.
when his tax records were finally released. But he's lived that life. He's never lived the life of a middle class person, which is
Hmm.
part of what got him elected. Is he pretended to be that.
Yeah, he said once about the middle class to the middle class voters, and I quote, "I am your voice."
Yeah,
No, you're not.
yeah, and doing something like buying a plane and naming it after yourself. That
That's the
really
least middle
truly,
class thing you can do.
yeah, that shows that you're not the same as us.
Hmm.
You
He
know,
grew up in New York City, which does not have a middle class to speak of. You're
no,
either rich or you're poor in that city.
yeah, yeah, pretty much that's the way it works. I mean, the only way you can be middle class is if you're either working two jobs or you and your significant other are working full-time jobs and have no kids. As soon as you start adding in children into it, I mean, someplace like New York City, you're really in trouble. I mean,
Especially when the rent is so damn high.
yeah, and it's getting worse. I mean, 30 years ago, probably not nearly as bad as it is now, but you
Yep.
look at you look at the big craze with the you know people living in 200 square foot apartments. The problem, that's great. The problem is they live in that 200 square feet and they're paying $1,400-$1,500 per month to rent that. It's just insane. And the other thing is you look at what we do with shopping. We do a lot of shopping in bulk. If you live in 200 square feet, you're not doing any bulk shopping. You're going shopping on a regular basis. And by regular, I mean you're going out and you're buying one tomato. Because if you buy more than one tomato, you have no place for the other tomatoes. But at any rate, so,
Reminder of the existence of the rent is too damn high party that mostly exists in New York City.
yeah, I'm sure it's in just about every large city.
Oh no, I looked it up on Wikipedia. It says that it is primarily active in the state of New York, and it didn't expand until 2014, and it only expanded to DC.
Yeah. DC's always been a place that's outrageous as far as their cost of living. But
Mm-hmm.
that's the case with every major city. I mean, even Syracuse is getting to be really bad with You know, with rent. You know, it's just a situation where the rich just keep getting richer. You know,
Yep.
and unfortunately, the way capitalism works, there's nothing that can be done by the government about it. You know, and I'm not saying there necessarily should be, except there, you know, perhaps put limits on the number of properties you can own. That's something that you can do. You know, they did that a while ago because there were TV networks. They were TV networks and radio networks. They were going and they were buying things up so that literally, you know, I think in Syracuse, you know, we have the four channels: ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox. And I believe at one point in time there was, I think it was Sinclair Media. They owned um, the ABC affiliate, and they owned like
Mm-hmm.
four radio stations. You know, and they were looking to buy another television system. I'm like, holy crap! And you know that was
They
happening.
basically own everything as
That
far
was
as affiliate TV stations.
that was happening all across the country, and the FCC stepped in and said, no, there's a limit to how many broadcast um, broadcast stations you can own in any given market. And that's what happened. And, you know, maybe that's what needs to happen as far as you know, apartments and landlords. Maybe we need to start looking into something like that so that we can actually get things under control and start spreading the wealth out instead of letting four or five people pile it all up and then just collect the cash and not actually fix the properties and maintain them.
Yep.
But yeah, the
But hey,
problem
what do we
it's
know?
yeah, you know, and the problem is capitalism isn't supposed to allow that to happen because there's supposed to be competition. But
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's somebody like
But what
me.
happens when there's no competition?
Yeah. Well, it's not even
That's one
that.
of the biggest flaws of capitalism.
It's not even just that. You know, it's how do you get into it to start up?
Mm-hmm.
You know, somebody like me, you know, I
Probably
mean,
can't afford to.
no, I can't afford to go out and buy a place, fix it up, and then set it up to rent. And then on top of, you know, on top of having to
Even if you
fix it and
didn't fix
everything.
it up, you probably couldn't afford it.
No, because, you know, I don't know. You know, and it goes well beyond just that. I mean, um, there's, well, at any rate, you know, it's just difficult to get into it. You know, starting any business, whether it's buying rental properties or starting a restaurant. You know, it's
It's too expensive
so
now.
it's so difficult to compete against the national brands that you know you really can't do it.
And even well-known local brands, you'll struggle.
Yeah, yeah, you know, because I mean you get big places like you know like Wegmans. I mean, you know they're becoming bigger, you know, but you can't start a grocery store to compete against them because you don't have the buying power they do. And
Yep.
that's the whole thing with Walmart. That's why Walmart nobody can compete with Walmart because Walmart goes to, you know, they'll go to a country and say, "We're going to buy all of your peaches for your entire peach crop for this year. This is what we'll pay." You know, the country can't really afford to say, "No, no, we're not going to do that."
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not talking a state or something like that within the United States. I'm talking an entire country. You know, so the country kind of has to say, oh, well, we can take that and have the guaranteed money, or we can take our chances that somebody else will come along and offer us a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to say no.
And they don't wait. They don't wait to see if anybody will offer more
Yeah.
because nobody will offer more. Nobody
Well,
can
it's
against Walmart.
even if they could, it's really a first come first serve type thing. Walmart stepped in there first and said, "I'm going to buy all of them," and you know you can't take a chance that somebody else will do it. It's too difficult. And by the way, my understanding is that no, Walmart is not giving the best price when they do something like that. They're saying we're going to buy all of them and this is the price we're willing to pay. And that's it. And it's
Mm-hmm.
literally a situation of, do we take that and guarantee that we sell everything, or do we take our chance at getting a higher price but not selling everything? You know, it's a win-win situation for Walmart because they get things at a very low price and they cut out competition. It's a lose for consumers because now we don't have choice. But at any rate, so what do you say we go to our last topic?
All right, what's
Since
this
we've
one?
gone off the rails multiple times this time.
Yep, we have.
So we kind of alluded to it as far as Trump coming up to New York to officially surrender and be indicted on what turns out to be 34 felony counts.
Yikes.
Yes, and of course he's going to open his mouth about it and spew off how this is all political and they're attacking him politically because this is the only way they know they can beat him, blah blah blah. When the truth of the matter is, an investigation like this takes a long time. Plain and simple. Takes a long time. On
Yeah, but
top
his
of that,
bootlickers will probably be saying the same thing that he is.
oh yeah,
Oh, it's a witch hunt.
yeah, and that's exactly what he's saying, but the, the the problem is the evidence had to be presented to a grand jury. The grand jury has to decide unanimously that yes, this evidence is good and this evidence will actually prove that he did it.
Mm-hmm.
And of course they were all talking, oh, it's all about Stormy Daniels and the payoff that he did for her and blah blah blah. That's just one little piece of it. He did that 34 times during his campaign. That's what this is all about.
Wow.
Yeah. So, you know, and what it was is it wasn't just that he paid somebody off. He paid them off to shut them up so that all of his dirty laundry was hidden during the campaign so that he looked like a better candidate.
Mm-hmm.
And because he was doing that to improve his odds of being elected, that's what makes it a felony. Falsifying the business, the business records, that's just a misdemeanor within New York State.
Yep.
But the fact that he did it,
Are they charging him with that too?
well, because he did it violating federal election policies, that's what makes it a felony.
Ah.
So the initial charges were going to be misdemeanors within New York State until they found additional evidence that said, no, this was election policy violations.
Ooh.
So yeah, then it became a felony. And what they were saying on the news tonight, just before I came in here to record, they were saying that there are several other states that are actually preparing similar charges.
Ooh, fun.
Yeah, and some people are saying, "Oh, well, they're doing this to knock him out of contention and everything." The problem is he's going to use this to actually drum up support. He
Imagine
did
if
it.
this somehow makes him even more popular.
It's going to.
I think
Whether
that'll be funny.
whether it makes him more popular long enough to win the primary is a completely different story.
Or even or I don't think it'll last long enough to win him the general.
No, I don't think it will. Unless honestly, unless it's Biden again, I think he has a
I
chance against
disagree. I
Biden.
think against Biden he loses.
I don't know.
Biden's
It's
in a better spot than he was a year ago.
yeah, but there's still a lot of people that are very unhappy with what's happened underneath him.
Mm.
You know, so I'm not gonna say that Biden's the best candidate by far.
Oh no, he's not.
But who else
I
are the
don't think
Democrats
they'd
gonna put
even
up there?
survive a second term.
I don't know. But who else are the Democrats gonna put up there?
If
Harris?
Biden says screw it, I'm done, then it's going to be Harris,
Yeah,
and
she's not
she's
gonna win the
basically
primary.
Hillary Clinton 2.0.
Yeah, she's not gonna win the primary. Somebody
Unless
else will
she has
step
no
up.
opposition,
Yeah, but the if I think the
then she
only
loses the
reason
general.
I think the only reason that the Democrats wouldn't put somebody else up there or somebody else wouldn't step up right now is because Biden is there and he's not doing horrible. Not doing great, but he's not doing horrible.
I do think that the Democrats won't ever nominate Harris because of Hillary,
Yeah, well, I think a lot of
because Kamala is too much like Hillary. She's trying to force herself down our throats.
yeah, I also think a lot of it has to do with lifelong Democrats were not happy with comments that she made. You know, in a Harris administration, and that was shortly after she was nominated. Shortly after he picked her to be the vice president in a Harris administration. There is no
Yeah,
Harris administration.
she was acting as if it was still the primaries and she was running against him.
Yeah, but
Because she did run in the primary.
oh, I know.
Some people might forget that, but she did.
Yeah, but
And I think she even attacked him for various things.
they all do.
I
They
mean, yeah, Reagan and Bush were about ready to kill each other in 1980.
yeah. I mean that's what they all do.
Voodoo economics.
That's what they all
Thank you,
do.
George.
They argue with each other and they throw throw mud in the eyes and all that other stuff. They can't stand them, and then all of a sudden, after the primaries are done, oh, they're the greatest selection out there. You can't find any better.
Yep.
You know.
2016 primaries. Trump calls Ted Cruz Lion Ted. 2 years later, when Ted's up for re-election, he's calling him Beautiful Ted.
Yeah. Yeah. The I don't know. I
That's
think
hilarious to me.
I think one of the commentators that I caught, because they didn't have the normal 4 o'clock local news. They were
Hmm.
too busy talking about Trump's indictment.
Of course they were.
But one of the commentators said, and I think he's right.
If something's happening with Trump, you know they're going to talk about it.
Yeah, but
Because the news is obsessed with him.
they're obsessed with trying to put him down.
Exactly.
You know, the
They're
the
obsessed with
unfortunate
trying to make him look bad.
the unfortunate thing is if they just shut up, he'd make himself look bad.
Mm-hmm.
I mean that's all there is to it. He can't
And I
shut his
think the
mouth.
media's bias against him is what won him, is a factor in what won him the election.
Well, yes and no. Some of it also came down to the lesser of two evils.
That and that Hillary was not a good campaigner.
The lesser of two
Reminder of the
evils.
Here's my reminder to all of us young folks who remember the Pokemon Go to the Polls soundbite. That one still gives me physical pain every time I think about it.
Yeah, but it's I don't know. He can't keep his mouth shut, and now his latest attorney, because everybody else, he's either fired them or they've said, you know what, you're an idiot. I'm getting away from you. His latest attorney sounds just like him. Saying, oh, this is stupid. This is a witch hunt. They have no rights to
Is
do
it
this
Rudy
to him.
Giuliani still? Or
No,
did he quit?
no. I think Giuliani was told to go away. Yeah, because I
He only
Giuliani.
made things worse.
Yeah, he was as bad as Trump, you know.
Mm.
And the thing with Giuliani is he was really trying to set himself up to be the president after Trump.
Or to be like in the cabinet. By the way, he never got a cabinet spot,
Yeah,
which is even funnier.
yeah. I really think he was trying to set himself up for the next step beyond being the mayor of New York, you know.
Hmm.
And it just didn't work
Just
out.
like he did in 2008 when he ran the primaries
Yeah, yeah,
and lost to who I think was an unbeatable John McCain in that primary
yeah,
because McCain was next in line after Bush
yeah. But
because there was no way in hell Cheney was going to run.
no, I don't think he. I don't even think Cheney really wanted to be the vice president.
Hmm.
But
Cheney knew how unpopular he was. He knew he wouldn't survive a primary.
yeah, yeah. He likely figured, I'll just sit back and collect the income for the rest of my life. I don't need to. I don't need to continue on.
I don't need to do anything more. I've done enough.
Yeah, because as vice president,
I don't need to have my 12th heart attack.
I think vice president gets like $250,000 a year for the rest of their life or something like that. You know, it's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. They don't do anything.
Yeah, you know,
They
it's
don't
just
even
like
have a. They don't even have their own library and museum to open like the presidents do.
yeah, you know, and that's just the other thing that kills me. I mean, the presidents, what do they do after they're done in office? Nothing, and they get $500,000 a year for the rest of their life, or maybe it's more. I don't know, but they get paid for the rest of their lives. So, you know, folks, if you really truly want to know why this country's going broke, there you go. All of these politicians, they, they get paid for the rest of their lives. And not just paid, they get benefits for the rest of their life.
Yep.
Medical benefits. You know? But. Alright, folks, so we went off on several tangents, side rails, whatever you want to call it. But, you know, I'm sure you got that music going in the background here.
Good night.
We'll see you.